Hello everyone, this is Danny from Kingston.
And I'm Daisy.
For the first time, I've teamed up with a friend from across the pond to bring you this mini podcast.
Hope you enjoy it.
We've got a real head-scratcher of a medical case study this time. It's all about a 7-year-old girl
Okay.
who just can't seem to shake this pneumonia.
Pneumonia, always a tough one.
Especially in kids, right?
Absolutely, their little bodies are still developing, immune systems aren't quite as robust.
Exactly.
So what's the story with this little one?
Well, she's been battling a persistent cough and fever.
How long has this been going on?
It's been a whole week now.
A week?
Yeah, and she's already had 3 days of amoxicillin.
The usual first line of defense.
Right. But here's the thing. She's not getting any better.
Not responding to the antibiotics, that's definitely a red flag.
And to make things even more interesting,
Uh-oh, there's more.
some family members were sick recently, but they recovered.
Interesting. Could be a clue there.
You'll dig into that, for sure.
You definitely want to explore that.
Now, her vital signs are a bit of a mixed bag.
Okay, what are we looking at?
Her heart rate and breathing are a bit fast.
That's not unusual with pneumonia. The body's working overtime to fight it off.
Right.
But what about her oxygen levels? Those are crucial in these cases.
Thankfully, her oxygen saturation is normal.
Okay, that's good. At least she's not in immediate danger.
Yeah, she appears unwell, but not in distress, thankfully.
That's good news, but still, a week of illness and no improvement with amoxicillin, we definitely need to figure out what's going on here.
And why isn't she bouncing back like her family members?
All right, let's put on our detective hats and get to the bottom of this.
So we know pneumonia is a serious infection of the lungs.
Right, it can be caused by bacteria, viruses, or even fungi.
In this case, the initial suspicion was bacterial pneumonia.
Makes sense. It's the most common type, especially in kids.
And that's why she was prescribed amoxicillin. It's usually very effective against the typical bacteria that cause pneumonia.
Right, it's often the go-to antibiotic for these cases, but like we said, she's not responding to it.
So that raises a big question mark.
Absolutely. It suggests that we might be dealing with something a little more unusual.
Like what?
Well, one possibility is that we're dealing with an atypical bacteria.
Atypical bacteria.
Yeah, they're a bit different from the usual suspects.
Okay, what makes them atypical?
For one, they often cause milder symptoms, which can make them trickier to diagnose.
So they fly under the radar.
Kind of. Yeah.
And is there a specific type of atypical bacteria we should be thinking about in this case?
There is one that comes to mind, Mycoplasma pneumonia.
Ah, I've heard of that one. Isn't it the one they call walking pneumonia?
You got it.
I always thought walking pneumonia was pretty harmless.
It can be mild, that's true, but it can also lead to more serious illness, especially if it's not treated correctly.
So it's not always a walk in the park, so to speak.
Exactly. It's a bit of a wolf in sheep's clothing.
So this mycoplasma, could that be the reason why our little patient isn't getting better?
It's definitely a strong possibility, and here's why. Mycoplasma doesn't respond to amoxicillin.
That explains why the usual treatment isn't working. But how would our Pete's doctor know that it's mycoplasma pneumonia?
Good question. There are a few things that can raise suspicion. First off, the fact that the standard treatment isn't working, that's a major clue.
Right, that's what set off the alarm bells in this case.
Then you mentioned that some family members were ill.
Yes, but they recovered. That's what's so puzzling.
Well, mycoplasma is known to spread easily within families.
Ah, so it's possible they had it too, but their immune systems were able to fight it off more effectively.
Exactly. Adults often experience milder symptoms than kids.
That makes sense.
And mycoplasma can linger. Even after people seem to have recovered, they can still be contagious.
So it could have been circulating within the family.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's say for argument's sake that mycoplasma is the culprit here. What's the next step?
Well, the good news is we have other antibiotics that are effective against mycoplasma.
So we ditch the amoxicillin and switch gears.
Exactly. Azithromycin is usually the first choice in these cases.
Azithromycin, got it.
There's also doxycycline or quinolones, but those are typically reserved for older children or adults.
Okay, so switching to the right antibiotic is key. But is there a way to confirm it's mycoplasma before making that switch?
There are tests available, but often treatment is started based on clinical suspicion, especially if the patient isn't improving on amoxicillin.
So they don't always wait for the test results.
Not always, especially in kids. Time is of the essence in these cases.
Makes sense. You don't want to delay treatment if you suspect mycoplasma.
Exactly. You got to act fast.
So mycoplasma is a strong contender, but are there other reasons why this girl might not be responding to the amoxicillin?
Absolutely. We got to keep an open mind. It's like a medical mystery, right?
I love a good mystery.
Me too. And in this case, another possibility is that it's not a bacterial infection at all.
You mean it could be viral?
Exactly. Viral pneumonia is another common culprit, especially in children.
And those don't respond to antibiotics, right?
Nope, they're powerless against viruses.
So if it's a virus, we'd be looking at a whole different approach to treatment.
Absolutely. It would be more about managing symptoms and supporting the body's natural defenses.
Okay, so viral pneumonia is on the table.
Really.
Are there any other possibilities we should consider?
We always have to consider the possibility of underlying health conditions.
So there could be something else going on that's making her more vulnerable.
Exactly. Some kids have weakened immune systems or other health issues that make them more susceptible to infections or complicate their recovery.
So it's not just about fighting off the pneumonia, it's about addressing any underlying factors that could be contributing to the problem.
Exactly. It's about seeing the whole picture, the child's overall health and well-being.
Wow, so many possibilities. This really highlights the importance of careful diagnoses, right?
Couldn't agree more. It's like putting together a puzzle, considering all the pieces of information.
What kind of pieces are we talking about?
Well, you've got the symptoms, the medical history, the family's health, and the response to treatment.
So it's not just about listening to the lungs, it's about gathering all the clues.
Exactly. It's like detective work.
And sometimes the clues point to something unexpected, like mycoplasma.
Precisely. That's why it's so important to keep an open mind and consider all the possibilities.
So to bring it all back to our case study, what are the key takeaways here?
Well, first and foremost, it reminds us that walking pneumonia, while it may sound harmless, can be deceiving.
Right, it's not always a walk in the park.
Exactly. Mycoplasma can cause serious illness, and it's crucial to recognize when typical treatments aren't working.
What else should we take away from this case?
It underscores the importance of considering all possibilities when a child isn't responding to treatment, and not just assuming it's a simple case of bacterial pneumonia.
Right, we've got to think outside the box, rule out the unusual suspects.
Exactly. Think like a detective.
This has been incredibly insightful. Thank you so much for shedding light on this complex case. Thanks, Kingston, for joining us, and see you on the next one.